Here we have something unique. This is a compost pile that serves as the water heater. Right now it's reading 110 degrees, but when we make this it usually goes up around 145, and we have to rebuild it by the time it sinks back down to 100 because your comfortable showering temperature is about 110 ideally, and pretty good at 100. The way it works is there's 200 feet of this half-inch black plastic line coiled up inside, and the 200 feet contains 4 gallons of water. So come over here, I'll show you how it works on the other end. Alright, here's a watering can that serves as the shower head. Its function is to put a delay in the system so that the water is heating up in 4-gallon batches. Here you have a 2-gallon can so you can fill it twice and shower. By the time you've used up those 2 cans, your next batch is pretty warm. If several people are using it, by the time it takes them to get in and shower again, it's warm. So oftentimes there's 5-6 people in a row taking showers here in the morning. Alright, it clips in securely, and then this is a cam cleat. Look how clever that is to lock right in there. Nice and strong. Then you just tip the can and shower like that. When you let go, it automatically shuts off, so you save water there. Get soaked up, and obviously keep going.
I just took a shower here at Deer Isle Hostel. It's incredibly refreshing and clean. The water is as hot or as cold as you like it. It beats even an outdoor shower at the beach. I love it.
So the concept is simple enough. You make a compost pile, you coil up the tubing inside, and you wait a couple days and out comes hot water. But how specifically to make the pile? That's the real question, and with what? This is an aerobic compost pile, which means it consumes oxygen in the decomposition process. And the materials I use in it are tree service wood chips, and in my case seaweed, because I live here on the coast of Maine. Now, you may have access to wood chips. If they're full of leaves and bark, you might not need any other material in there, especially if they're finely chipped. Other materials that would work in there would be straw or hay. Now at the base here, we have some perforated pipe going in. That's to deliver air into the base, and then I make the base just out of wood chips. Now with the air coming in through the perforated pipe in the bottom and then rising through the pile through the loose structure of the chips, that's an aerobic pile. It's breathing oxygen and therefore it won't smell. So it's worthwhile to find a couple pieces of scrap pipe. The insulation from the ground is fairly important. I usually don't start to put the coils in until I'm at least a foot, but preferably close to 16 or 18 inches off the ground. The rule of thumb is you want the coil in 18 inches from top, sides, and bottom to be in the hottest zone. So in that way, you can see that you need a pretty good sized pile. Our pile here is probably 8 feet across nearly, and when we build it, it will be a little bit above 5 feet tall. So my goal is to make the pile as vertical as possible. This is because the coils are a certain size and you don't want to be reducing them too much as you go up. So I have a special technique for doing that, and that is I'm going to lay my seaweed around the edge and develop a dish shape just slightly, and as I go up I'll maintain that dish shape to the top of the pile, and that way gravity is working to pull things towards the middle instead of falling out over the edges. Once several layers of material are built up, we can start adding the coil. So here you see our older compost pile, and now we've started a new base for the second compost pile. What I'm going to do from this point is actually dismantle that compost pile into this one. I'm going to add new seaweed. It's going to have to reheat over the next 24 hours. So when I move this, it will probably start out at 75. 24 hours later, it will be up to 99 degrees. When dismantling the pile, I use a 5-tine fork, and the thing I've done is filed off the sharp tips so I don't poke the tubing. You don't want to poke the tubing or damage it in any way. We're back after having the camera off for a couple hours. You can see I've been building the pile and it's quite vertical. And that's from the technique of stacking around the edges and packing it down like that with the fork. Alright, at this point, it's been about a week. It's slumped down a little bit, but I kept it this way so you could see that it's still dished in the top, that we've built it that way right up through. Gives us pretty nice vertical edge here. And now we're going to top it off with some more material that will insulate it. I'm going to show you now how to adapt the black plastic water line to hose threads. It's good to have two clamps and go in opposing directions. This is pipe threading and hose threading. It's slightly different, and you'll want to tighten that up with wrenches. Here's how easy it is to plumb this. You've got your garden hose supplying the water, split into a Y with valves to shut it off and on. That's handy when you're servicing it. You head it into the bottom of the compost pile here with your tubing adapted to hose thread. And you're coming out here from the top of the pile with your hot water. That's got a shut-off valve on it, which is handy but not necessary. And then, so here you have cold water going into the shower and hot water going into the shower. How long does it last, you wonder? Well, the shortest we've done is 4 weeks when it was a much smaller pile. The longest we've done is 10 when it was a big pile and 2 of us used it. But typically when the hostel runs and it's used quite frequently, we get about 7 weeks out of it.